What's up, you dirty dogs? It's been a while since I've done one of these, so let's commence by counting down our 10 players you may not know played for the mighty Real Madrid. 10. Marcos Alonso. Free-scoring wing-back maestro Marcos Alonso has undergone a rapid turnaround in his career, going from a Bolton and Sunderland outcast to an integral part of Conte's title-winning side in 16-17. But, like his father and grandfather before him, he featured for Los Blancos. Starting his career in Madrid, the left-back played at every level for Los Merengues, even making his first-team debut as a teenager. Unfortunately, it wasn't exactly a dream scenario for the Spaniard, as he got brought on in the 90th minute against Racing Santander. Knowing his playing time was going to be limited, Alonso switched sunny Madrid for the dreary streets of Bolton, winning the club's Player of the Year in his last season with the Northern side. 3 years later, he joined Chelsea for £24 million, and after initial doubts over his ability, he proceeded to prove everybody wrong by lifting the Premier League trophy, and he banged a few sexy free kicks on the way. 9. Roberto. It's 2017, and at the time of recording, 43-year-old Roberto is still playing professional football. What a champ. On the books at Palmeiras, the Brazilian is set to finally call it a day in the new year. But over 20 years ago, the midfielder took his first step into Europe, with the Bernabeu being his new home. The midfielder spent 2 seasons in his early 20s at Madrid, making just 21 appearances, but didn't leave the capital empty-handed, as he won the League and Champions League during his stint at Los Blancos. Roberto then went on to win 4 Bundesligas, 4 DFB Pokals, and even won the Brazilian Serie A last year, a glittering trophy cabinet for one of football's longest careers at the very top. 8. Klaas-Jan Huntelaar. The Hunter is now back at home at Ajax, and after scoring over 100 goals in 130 games during his first stint at the club, the Dutchman got his big money move to Real Madrid for the hefty fee of €27 million. 20 appearances and 8 goals later, Huntelaar's time in Madrid came to an abrupt end after just half a season. He wasn't the only Dutchman to make an early exit from the Merengues during this period either, as Van der Vaart, Ian Robin and Royston Drenthe, the latter, keeping good company there, also struggled to make an impression at the club. Despite his non-stop scoring form after leaving Madrid, including a season at Schalke where he scored 48 goals in 48 games, Huntelaar has failed to pick up a single league title in his entire career. Now 34 and already a goal scorer this term, this could finally be the year he's crowned champion. 7. Juanfran. Atleti's defensive stalwart Juanfran is now in his 8th season for Los Blancos, but the Spaniard actually started his career for their cross-city rivals, Real Madrid. The fullback graduated from La Fábrica and played for Castilla and eventually the first team too. Much like Marcos Alonso found out half a decade later, becoming a regular fixture in the squad was a tough ask, and he eventually moved to Osasuna on a free transfer. Juanfran spent 4.5 years in Pamplona, with perhaps his most memorable moment being a 30-yard screamer against his former club to keep Osasuna in the top flight. Some of the league's bigger clubs started to keep a close eye on the right back, and Juanfran joined Atleti just before Simeone's revolution at the club. Under the Argentine, Juanfran has become a League and Europa League champion, but his first club has had the last laugh, beating his side in 2 Champions League finals, including one where the right back missed a penalty in the shootout. 6. Fabinho. In-demand Fabinho seems set to be one of the few Monaco players who are staying with the club this season. But did you know that the Brazilian had a brief stint for Real Madrid? No, we didn't either. Los Blancos have always had a good scouting network in Brazil and Portugal, bringing in the likes of Marcelo, Casemiro and Pepe at relatively young ages from the 2 countries, and Fabinho was a similar acquisition. Never actually bought by Madrid, the club brought him in on loan from Rio Ave just 1 month after he joined the Portuguese side. A tad odd, but moving on. That season, the Brazilian made 30 appearances for the Castilla and even played for the first team against Malaga, grabbing an assist in his 14 minutes of fame at the Bernabeu. But he can't have made a good impression, as Madrid skipped the chance to purchase him outright. More for them, as he's since become one of the most wanted defensive midfielders in the whole of Europe. 5. José Antonio Reyes. Arsenal invincible José Antonio Reyes had the world at his feet when he joined the Gunners, and he enjoyed a dream start, scoring twice against Chelsea to knock them out of the FA Cup, and then he went on to score 2 in the last 3 games of Arsenal's unbeaten Premier League season. But being kicked to by Gary Neville and general homesickness caused the winger to push for a move back to his homeland, and his destination was the Bernabeu. Reyes spent the year on loan, whilst Arsenal got Julio Baptista in return for a season, and the two clubs had varying fortunes. Whilst Arsenal finished 4th and lost in the League Cup final to Chelsea, Reyes scored 2 goals for Madrid in the last game of the season to win them the league title. The Spaniard did stay in the capital after his loan, but for rivals Atletico Madrid. He also found further success with Sevilla, winning 3 Europa Leagues on the bounce from 2014 to 2016. He might not have fulfilled his huge potential, but he certainly has filled up his trophy cabinet. Pun. 4. Samuel Eto'o. One of the biggest names on our list, Eto'o is in the top 10 of Barcelona's all-time goal scorers and is the record African scorer in La Liga. It could have all been very different for the Cameroonian though, as he joined Real Madrid's academy as a kid and made 6 appearances for Los Blancos. The striker spent 3 years out on loan though, and ended up at Mallorca on a permanent basis for a cool 4.4 million. During his time on the Balearic Islands, Eto'o became a hero and averaged a goal nearly every other game and helped the side win their first ever Copa del Rey, scoring twice in the final. Barcelona then came calling, and the rest is history. Eto'o even goaded Madrid after Barca's 2005 title win, chanting, "Madrid, salute the champion." If only they didn't let him go, eh? 3. Julien Faubert. Probably the worst foreign import to ever set foot in the Bernabeu. We don't think anyone knows how Faubert managed to wear the famous white kit. His agent deserves a medal. But the former West Ham player spent half a season on loan to Madrid and played just 54 minutes of football during this brief spell, later going on to play for Kilmarnock. Real Madrid to Kilmarnock, a move never ever recreated again. According to his agent, Faubert wasn't Madrid's first choice, who knew? And they only pursued him as a deal for then English Giants Wiggins winger Antonio Valencia fell through due to a large price tag. Really? After arriving in Spain, his antics off the pitch garnered more attention than his lack of playing time on it. Faubert once missed training due to thinking he had the day off, and was also pictured falling asleep on the bench against Villarreal. He pretty much summed up Juan de Ramos' 1-year stint at the club and is now currently playing in Finland. 2. Antonio Cassano. After bursting onto the scene as a teenager, Antonio Cassano was christened El Pibe de Barry, a comparison to Maradona. And he seemed to make the logical moves needed to be compared to the world's best, but his behaviour off the pitch was always his downfall. His talent was never in question, reflected in his 2 Serie A Young Player of the Year awards whilst at Roma, where he should have formed a deadly partnership with Totti that lasted for years. Instead, he ignored the captain's advice to stay at the club and jumped ship to Madrid after a contract dispute. Surprisingly, his habit of not giving a came to the fore again, making just 19 league appearances in his 2 seasons at the Bernabeu, scoring a paltry 2 goals. However, at least Madrid's accountants will remember him fondly, as he was fined for every gram he was overweight during his spell with the club. 1. Emmanuel Adebayor. Did Adebayor have the talent to play for a club like Madrid? Well, yes. Did he ever deserve the privilege of playing for such a club? Absolutely not. But somehow, some way, the Togolese striker wore the white shirt and actually did pretty well during his 6-month loan. Although he played just over 700 minutes in La Liga, his stats were reflective of a striker at the peak of his powers. Our mate Ted Newton whipped up a radar of his time in Madrid, thank you Ted, and in some areas he actually performed better than Sergio Aguero in his 24-goal 15-16 season. Adebayor actually had more expected goals, more touches in the box, and more expected goals per shot than the Argentine. Now this is all good if you're an absolute nerd. Obviously this is based on a low amount of minutes compared to Aguero, but it's a glimpse at why Adebayor was always worth a gamble. Since then, bar one standout season at Spurs, the lanky forward has failed to impress everywhere else he's gone. Now playing in Turkey, he's bagged 6 goals in 13 games, linking up with legends of the game like Clichy and Elia, as opposed to Mesut Ozil and Angel Di Maria. So how many of those players did you know played for Real Madrid, guys? Let us know in the comments below. And if you enjoyed this video, check out Stat Wars Football Mundial transfer review and all that is good on EFD. And as ever, if you haven't already, don't forget to like and subscribe.